Chapter 24. Who is my well-wisher in the stock market? You must have read that the bitter hardcore reality of the stock market is that nobody is your well-wisher in the stock market. Yes, you read it right. Though there are plenty of stock advisors or brokers to help you in making investment. Yet they are all working for their profit first. They don't care about your investment. All they care about is their fate, their fat commission received from their suggested investments. The following participants act as advisor in the stock market: brokers, credit rating agencies, relationship managers in the banks, advisors, mutual fund distributors. Now, let us see the hidden facts behind the advice of each of these advisors. Number 1. Brokers. The broker advise you to buy or sell a stock and earn a brokerage fee out of it. The brokers make money via commissions earned by buying or selling shares. So they advise you to invest in those funds from which they can earn a hefty brokerage fee. Generally, brokers give 5 different types of ratings to the investors, which are buy, accumulate, hold, underweight, and sell. Out of my personal experience, here is what the brokers rating mean. Sell. The brokers are required to be on good terms with the CEO of the companies, and hence the broker refrain from suggesting to sell. Underweight. It is their softer way to suggest sell. Hold. It reflects that you must start selling the stock as they do not appear to be promising to the broker anymore. Accumulate. It reflects holding the stock. Buy. The brokers usually have to meet their monthly target by selling more stocks. So buy does not assure that the stock is worthy of being bought. Second is credit rating agencies. It is not recommended that you invest your money based on the credit rating given by stock agencies, as you might be misguided. The credit rating agencies, such as CRISIL, work in favor of companies and not investors, since they have to be loyal towards those who compensate them. Hence, how it works? Companies are dependent on the ratings of these agencies, and hence they offer the agencies hefty commissions to obtain good ratings. Consequently, the ratings presented by these credit rating agencies are misleading. Third, advisors. Every year, advisors need to make research report of the companies, which require them to meet the company's senior officials frequently. So they need to take special care of the company's top officials' interest to be able to retrieve the financial data from them. Thus, in short, the ratings are always manipulated to show the companies as excellent investment opportunities. Mutual fund distributors. Even mutual fund distributors work for their selfish motto. They suggest only those funds which will give them maximum returns. Relationship advisors in the bank. When you visit the bank, you often ask your RM which insurance policy or stock market fund should you invest in. And you will find your RM instantly suggesting a few policy and a few funds with a lot of conviction. But beware of this fact that your RM will only indicate that policy, scheme, fund in which he earns the maximum commission. The RMs or other sales staff of financial institutions are paid both in kind and cash to promote the sale of a specific scheme or a fund. So imagine if by selling an X fund, your RM is sent on a free trip to Singapore, and if by selling a Y fund, he is sent to Dubai, and suppose he wishes to go Dubai, then he will present Y fund as a better investment option as compared to X in his interest. Sadly, this is the hardcore reality that has existed in the stock market investment for a long time. The poor investors are used as a bait to earn the brokerage commission from trading or to get a commission from the companies. Tip: you must get involved in stock investment yourself by learning the basics of how to select the right stocks. It may be a little time taking, but it is surely not difficult. I believe that by the end of this book, you will be equipped with the right knowledge and tools to assess stocks by yourself. One interesting thought to ponder here is, why is it important to give 100% honest advice in the financial sector? Financial advice plays a critical role in defining huge gains or losses for an investor. With one right financial advice, an investor can mint multi-billion, and with one wrong advice, he loses the golden opportunity to create such enormous wealth. When it comes to other areas, loss is limited to the false advice that has been given. For example, if you buy a faulty car or a scooter or property based on the advice of a professional advisor, then the loss is restricted to just a car or a scooter or a property. But in case of financial advice related to stock investment, the loss could be unlimited. Imagine you wanted to buy a share X that is worth rupees 100 and you seek a financial advisor's help. He advised not to invest in share X, instead suggest some other share Y. Out of confusion, you forgo the opportunity to invest money in either of the shares. After 10 years, the share X value appreciated to rupees 50,000. Suppose you intended to buy 10 shares of X, it would have fetched you rupees 5 lakh. But because of the wrong advice of the broker, you lost out on this excellent opportunity. Thus, the loss is enormous due to the power of compounding. So, being a financial advisor is a huge responsibility. As with your one advice, either an investor can create enormous wealth or can incur huge losses. Hence, the financial advisor's job is highly responsible and must be chosen by people with full ethics and integrity. An interesting insight: beware, often things that are too big to fail are covered up. As citizens of India, we have faith in the Indian public sector banks and we seek their help and guidance in planning our financial investment, right? But the reality is that with public sector undertakings, the picture is not as good as it looks. There have been a few massive scams done by big financial institutions in the past. A lot of noise was made to highlight these scams, but no legal action was taken against these banks. A recent report released by RBI for 2017 and 18 states that the public sector banks were responsible for 92.9% of scams, whereas the private sector banks were responsible for 6% scams only. Outstanding frauds were done by government financial institutions, PSUs, ate away crores of rupee, which went on to become a viral scam. But the government, instead of taking any legal action against PSUs, recapitalized the public bank and charged hefty taxes from citizens to make up for the losses. Do you know why? It is so because PSUs are too big to fail. Now let's see what is too big to fail theory. Too big to fail theory. Certain financial institutions are so well integrated into the Indian economy that their failure would devastate a more significant economic system of the country. Hence, for the economic welfare of the country, the government is bound to support such institutions when they face any significant failures. Here is what happens if too big to fail institutions fail. For example, SBI. SBI has around 22,500 branches and 58,000 ATMs. The total asset value of SBI is rupees 37 trillion. which is more than $555 billion. There are more than 50 crore Indian customers who have put their faith in SBI by saving money in it. So, if at any time the SBI is dissolved, it will doom the money invested in millions, leading to significant economic devastations. Thus, it will crash the Indian economy at once. Therefore, such institutions are named as too big to fail. Currently, SBI is planning to increase its market share to 22% from 17%, owing to the growing demand of the public banks in India. So it will be even more difficult to dissolve this institution in the future legally, as this would mean the failure of the government of India. So these institutions continue to flourish, but the good part is that they have mended their ways due to the entry of foreign banking companies. Currently, three banks have been recognized by RBI, which can be categorized as too big to fail banks, which are SBI, HDFC, and ICICI Bank. Information fact: do you know that LIC has earned a bad reputation for mishandling people's money by providing a meager rate of interest on the investment made?